G'day everyone, my name is Mac Lasota. I'm Australia's friendliest cloud solutions architect. I work for IBM, and today I'm here to talk about 3 ways that IBM Cloud Object Storage can save you time and maybe some money in 2017. First of all, stop managing storage. Don't do backups and make your data work for you. Don't let it just sit there gathering dust. Now if at this point your head is spinning, give me a chance to explain, and hopefully this will all make sense in about 15 minutes. First of all, what does IBM Cloud Object Storage do or provide? IBM Cloud Object Storage provides a secure and reliable, cost-effective platform that we've deployed in the cloud, that we also sell on premises, that you can pay for and consume on a cents per gig per month basis. It is designed to store unstructured data. It's not designed to store high IOPS workflows, transactional processing, so you can't run your Oracle or SAP workload, you can't run VMs on it. It's not that sort of storage. But if you're churning out log files, IoT content, backup data, then absolutely this is the place to store your data. On this slide we have some of the current customers that are using IBM Cloud Object Storage as part of their business. You can see there's some service providers, media and entertainment, life sciences, financial services, marketing, federal, but really it fits anywhere where you might be able to, if it's any industry or vertical where you are creating a lot of unstructured data. Let's briefly discuss the use cases for IBM Cloud Object Storage in the typical business. The 3 big ones, and these are not the 3 only use cases by the way, are archive, backup and active data. When we're talking about archive, it's typically multimedia unstructured data producing applications such as voice archives, scanned documents, patient records in medical is a big one, as is video archives in multimedia and entertainment. The other really interesting one is analytics. Things like Hadoop, Apache Spark, Watson, Data Science Experience and many others need a great deal of data to actually perform their analytics, but that data storage costs a lot of money, so we provide a low-cost data tier for those analytics applications. On the backup side, IBM Cloud Object Storage can be integrated with most of the enterprise backup applications, IBM Spectrum Protect obviously, Commvault, Veritas Net Backup, Oracle RMAN can write directly to object storage as well. There's also integration directly from storage arrays, so a number of storage arrays now have the capability to offload their snapshots out to IBM Cloud Object Storage. And on the active side, we have things like collaboration applications, file sync and share, NAS gateways that provide cheap NAS storage with an IBM Cloud Object Storage backend. These are all the typical use cases for IBM Cloud Object Storage. IBM Cloud Object Storage can be deployed in whatever way or wherever you want to. So we do sell this as an on-premise offering if you want full control of the system and you want to be able to customize it and run it in whatever way you so choose to. You can deploy it as a dedicated offering within the IBM Bluemix Cloud, or you can consume it as a public cloud offering. This is probably the most common use case for cloud object storage, but it's good to know that we do have that capability to deploy it in whichever way suits your business. So let's get to the meaty stuff. Stop managing storage. Essentially, I'm not here telling you that you need to throw out all your traditional SAN and NAS arrays. What I do want you to be aware of is that these arrays and solutions have a lot of inherent overhead in them. So you've got the actual arrays and controllers. You've got the file controllers if these sit on top of your block space. You need to have the data center space to actually have these in. These things consume power and cooling. You need to be concerned about disaster recovery. You're typically making copies of this, either using storage replication or snapshots or backing it up. That backup requires some software, which again requires some infrastructure. If you want to be secure, you need external key managers. And typically it requires an upfront commitment. So obviously you can buy things on a payment plan, but there is a sunk cost that you are committing to. So whether you pay for it upfront, and that's, let's say it's $100,000, whether that's a payment plan over 3 years, or whether that's something that you paid for upfront, that's essentially $100,000 that you have committed to spend. More so than that, all of this stuff takes a lot of time to manage. So what's the answer? Don't buy storage, consume it. It seems very simple. With IBM Cloud Object Storage, all that you need to start consuming storage is some IP connectivity to the cloud. This could be via the internet, it could be via VPN, it could be via a private link. You need a credit card to consume it. And the beauty is that you only pay if you use. So that means if in month 1 you only upload 1 terabyte of data, you pay for 1 terabyte of data, which will be probably somewhere in the vicinity of $10. So what does this mean? This means that suddenly the amount of kit that you need to deploy in your data center starts shrinking. Now, it's still likely that if you are not born in the cloud or you're not moving wholly in the cloud, you're not going to be able to use IBM Cloud Object Storage to replace all of your storage needs. But that unstructured data, you can get that off your expensive spinning stuff and get it out to the cloud and lower the size of your data center, the time and the management effort that you put into dealing with that. Like any cloud provider, we have a number of tiers. We have IBM Cloud Object Storage Standard, Vault and Cold Vault, which are fairly synonymous with and equivalent to with what the other cloud providers have out there. We also have a unique tier that's called IBM Flex. Now what Flex gives you is it gives you costs that are somewhere in between Vault and Cold Vault by default, but it gives you a charge cap. Which is only a little bit more than the standard offering. So that means that you can, if you're not sure of what your workload profile is, or you might be in a space where 9 months of the year or 11 months of the year the data sits there doing idle, but 1 month of the year it gets absolutely hammered, you know that for that 1 month you're not going to get a bill that's more than the entire year's worth, because of that charge cap. It's really, really cool, and it's something that is unique to IBM. So why IBM? I mean, there's 50 cloud providers out there. There's obviously 3 or 4 big ones, but there's a lot of competition out here. So first of all, with IBM Cloud Object Storage, you know that your data will be accessible. Our SLAs are better across all the tiers than our competitors, and you either care about that or you don't. But what you need to keep in mind is, how long can your business function if you can't read your data? How long can your business function if you can't write your data? That sounds strange, but what if you're using this behind a backup application that's writing out archive logs for your databases? Can you survive a 3-day outage, which is what some of the other competitors will give you on the cheaper tiers of storage? Secondly, which I already covered to a degree, we do give you a greater amount of coverage for bill shock. Obviously, you can buy the standard tier, which has no egress charges, and that is priced very competitively. But you can also get the best of both worlds. You can enjoy the Flex tier, which gives you near cheapest costs and is very, very competitive cost-wise. And if you do get that one event, that unexpected event, Flex tier gives you that element of protection. It's really like an insurance policy for your cloud storage, which is why I'm such a big fan. And finally, IBM has done a lot of work to see whether the integration point between IBM Cloud Object Storage and your application actually works. We have a team that's dedicated to validating applications. If you talk to IBM or you Google the website, you will see that there's a number of vendors that we already work with. If it's not on there, then fundamentally this is S3 storage, so if it's an S3 compliant application, it should work. However, we have gone to the effort of validating a lot of these applications, and we are continually validating more applications. Another part of that point is that we will also put some skin in the game. If you have an application that you're not sure that will work, or you want to test whether the performance of moving your data to the cloud with one of the validated solutions work, we're quite happy to work with you on a proof of concept, and we're not going to offload that to somebody else and say, hey, you need to pay us some money first. Obviously, if you ask for a petabyte of storage to do a POC, that's probably a different discussion, but we're quite happy to work with you and ensure that the solution works for your business without charging you that wheelbarrow full of money first. So the second point, don't do backups. And I've been a backup admin for about 8 years in my glorious past, so I do feel a disturbance in the force as I utter that phrase. So here's a look at your traditional backup infrastructure. You have your application, you have some prod storage, you're probably copying that to DR storage one or more times. You have some backup servers, you have your backup pool that you do your ingest to, and then some low-cost storage, which could be tape or could even be cloud. You then make an offsite replica because that's the way you've always done it. Now, all of this stuff takes a lot of time, effort, money, and it can be a little bit cumbersome. What I would suggest is don't do all of that. Point your data at object storage. Now, that could be either directly, if your application can use the object store directly, or if it requires file-based storage, then you can put a NAS gateway in front that will export out CIFS or NFS. What that will also do is that NAS gateway will typically provide some element of snapshot capability, so if you really are paranoid about needing access to old versions of the data, those snapshots are stored out in the cloud, and you can simply restore from those, as opposed to having all this external infrastructure simply to support the possibility of you getting some storage back, which may never actually occur. Secondly, these are typically, or if you're talking about NAS gateways or any sort of gateways that you're pointing in front of the object store, they will typically dedupe and compress and encrypt the data, which also provides some value. So at this moment, you're probably still shaking your chair saying, this guy is nuts. Why would I not back up my data? How am I going to get it back? How is it going to be secure amongst multiple sites? What if people try and tamper with it? Oh my God. So, first of all, let's cover the security aspect. IBM Cloud Object Storage is incredibly secure. It's used by a number of government agencies, financial providers, and a number of very security conscious organizations. And the reason for that is the data is encrypted in transit by default. The data is then encrypted at rest by default. No extra charge for that, by the way. The data is dispersed amongst multiple physical devices, dispersed amongst multiple data centers, either within a region or cross-region. We erasure code the data so that we actually only have a single copy of the data, but that data is spread across many sites, and we can survive the failure of many devices and sites plus the additional devices without the users knowing that anything has actually happened. We hash that data at the time of ingest, so there's a small amount of CRC data that gets prepended, and that data is read every time you try and retrieve your data to verify the integrity. If something is wrong, then we will access the data from another device and another spindle and reconstruct that, and either read or reconstruct that data. Because we've added that integrity check at the beginning, we can also use that same data to do at-rest integrity checking. At all times, the data is actually being scanned and rebuilt as disks, devices, and bit rot happens. We also secure this via public and secret key authentication, meaning that your data is incredibly safe and secure, dispersed amongst multiple sites. So, fundamentally what that means is that your data is securely vaulted in the IBM Cloud. You don't need to worry about it. You can retrieve it at any time you want to, and the system is designed for beyond 15 nines resilience. And if you do some calculations on that, that is trillions, if not zillions of years before the data is likely to actually have any issues with it, by which time hopefully we'll all be retired. So why IBM? So one fundamental point of difference is as soon as you write your data to IBM Cloud Object Storage, your data is immediately secure. Now this is a point of differentiation because most other systems, particularly in the cloud space, use read after write consistency. So that means you write your file, and as soon as it's been written, then it gets pushed out to the other sites. So that means that if there is a catastrophic network outage, or worse, a catastrophic site outage or a natural disaster that wipes out that site, well, guess what? You've lost your data. Even though these other systems may also be geo-distributed, but because that data has been committed before it's actually being written to all those sites, hey, you've lost your data. Secondly, you noticed in the previous slide at the beginning I talked about the dedicated cloud offering. So what that means is that we can deploy a dedicated IBM Cloud Object Storage pod within the IBM Bluemix Cloud, where you can have a greater element of control and complete physical separation from any other tenant. The system is still managed by IBM. Obviously the consumption model is slightly different. It's allocation based, not consumption based. But you still do get all the benefits of cloud economics, of the geodispersal, security, encryption, data surety. All of that stuff is still there. And finally, our data is encrypted by default. We don't need you to tick a box. We don't need you to pay, get the credit card out and pay for an extra feature just to encrypt the data, which is something that fundamentally you should already be the case with cloud-based storage. It's included for free by default all the time. Here's the final point. Make your data work for you. So we're talking about storing unstructured data. And unstructured data could be your financial logs, your application logs, could be your sales data, could be backup and archive, could be your social feeds, and many, many, many more things that I probably myself don't even know about. And we all know that data is the new natural resource. This is nothing new. But actually doing something about that is easier said than done. Standing up a deep analytics or cognitive project that will go in and index and analyze and to provide insights from your data is a huge project and a huge undertaking. You need skilled people to go in and do that within your own premises. So you've got all this stuff that you could do something with, but at the moment fundamentally it's gathering dust because it's just too difficult. So with IBM Cloud Object Storage, you can leverage the other components of the IBM Bluemix Cloud. So we've got pre-built or pre-validated capability with Apache Spark, with Hadoop, with data science experience, and of course Watson. All of these things can be programmatically integrated with IBM Cloud Object Storage. And the reason you would do that is Obviously, the analytics is probably going to be done in memory or in some high-speed storage. So, let's not forget that first slide. But you do need a cheap place to actually store that data, because we're talking about mining huge data sets, and if you're going to be storing that on very, very fast SSD, or storing the entire thing in petabytes of memory, the cost is going to be not particularly effective. It'll be blindingly fast, but you're going to have to pay for that. So we give you that capability to have the best of both worlds. Get your insights, and then store your data set within that low-cost storage. And what that enables you is to transform your data into information, into knowledge, and hopefully into wisdom that you can use to better run your life or your business. So why IBM? Well, this one's actually pretty easy. IBM is the leader in analytics. Watson is also recognized as the cognitive and AI platform. There are a number of really cool library functions. There's Watson AI, Watson facial recognition, Watson IoT platform, video analytics, audio and text analysis. There is a red book that is published. If you have a look, there's some examples where we've integrated IBM Cloud Object Storage with Watson. Very, very cool. So feel free to look at that, and that I do refer to that in my resources slide. Finally, obviously you can do that all for you, and we have a number of blueprints and resources that you can use. There are business partners. But we also, being the breadth of IBM, we can also do this ourselves. That doesn't mean we always will. However, you've got additional choice and flexibility of actually having the vendor or the partner or yourself doing the work, as opposed to us throwing it at external parties saying, "Hey, we're just a platform provider, and you go and do it yourself." We do put skin in the game, repeating what I said before. And I think that has value. So hopefully that sparked your interest. If you want to know more, there's a number of resources on the IBM website. There is a red book, of which I'm a proud author of, or one of the proud authors of, that has some very, very cool integration examples, as well as some high-level detail. You can try this for free. So if you log onto the IBM Cloud website, you can get 25 gigabytes for free to play with, integrate with your application, and see whether that works. There's also a wealth of resources. If you Google IBM Cloud Object Storage, or the pre-acquisition name CleverSafe, that was an on-prem solution. However, the underlying technology is exactly the same. And obviously, talk to your local representative. So I'll leave you with this question. Hopefully what I've said makes sense, and you're not spinning in your chair or throwing darts at the screen. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me on LinkedIn. Thank you.